Yep, I know. We're just a couple of successful guys that are doing the head bobbing. Yep. Okay. Welcome, everybody. So, there we go. Okay. Hello, Jordan. Welcome again to another show of Like an Entrepreneur.
Hey, thanks for having me here with you.
Yeah. So...
How do I sound, by the way? Sound okay?
Yeah, you sound pretty good. So... Okay, missing audio? Nope, there we go. Okay, yep, we should have, should all be able to hear. So, anyway, okay, now, welcome everybody on YouTube. Thanks for joining. And so this is gonna be a really interesting show, because after I wrote up the show notes for this of everything I was gonna tell, I had a few oh shit moments, like how much trouble am I gonna get in? Or how much heat am I going to take? Because of some of the stuff that I'm telling. Yeah, well, it's just because I have some really strong things to say about my entrepreneurial career and how some people have screwed things up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it's going to be great. So thank you all for being here. And so now the last Like an Entrepreneur episode was identifying opportunities.
Yep.
And
how everybody else does it versus entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And so now we're gonna kind of do something that we questioned about whether or not it would even be a good fit, because blazing a trail on a brand new thing is not necessarily the right way to go for everybody.
Yeah, and and I was giving this some thought. I'm gonna kind of drop a story on you, if that's okay.
Sure.
We are pretty steadfast in how we believe things work best for us anyway, and that's not to say that our way is the only way. I mean, I personally know people who have built a prototype of something. It was software mainly. Got funding, moved to Silicon Valley, and now they're
fresh,
run, right? So, between when they finished and when they got funded, if I were to sit down and ask them, like, well, who's your market, right? Like how are you going to go and get customers? Like, all of that would have been absolutely inconsequential to them. Mm-hmm. But they're 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000. I mean, I just don't know that many people who've done that. I know a lot of people who've tried, mm-hmm. but I do know a lot of people who use the system that we talk about using. They're very, very successful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's just playing the odds, right? I mean, that's really all we're talking about. So you can go and try anything that you want, but what we know works is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt. But
no, that's okay. I'm a firm believer in replicating success.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're saying there.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so, the reason that we're doing this show is because we're both entrepreneurs, and I've been in the video game industry for a long time, and I've been doing live streaming for a long time, and videos and everything. I am 10 years this month on YouTube. 10 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we're going to have a big party with lots of alcohol. And we need to do it live on the show here.
Yeah.
So, and so, yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I've been making video content or content for people to consume on the internet for even longer than that. So there's a slight echo with Jordan. Yeah, I've tried to get rid of that, guys. Jordan is just so awesome. It's like that godlike voice. Jordan.
I was going to say, I can just shut up.
No.
That'll fix the problem.
No. And that wasn't an echo. That was me saying no multiple times.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, okay.
Fair enough. Thank you.
So anyway, so what I've done is taken what is most commonly asked of me. And I get questions every day on the show and every day in YouTube of, how do I do what you're doing? Do you do this for a living? I mean, is this everything that you do? I mean, how do you make your money and everything? So now I'm sharing that, I am an entrepreneur and I have multiple companies that I do business with and that I work with and everything. And so I'm not a full-time streamer. But if I were, I would be killing it on this. I mean, there are so many things that I do not take advantage of that I just test and I go, okay, that worked. But I don't have time to do all of it. Not to do, our video game sales company and other affiliate marketing stuff that I do and everything. And so it all just needs to be, I wish that I could just dedicate to this all the time, but I can't. But you can. So if any of you out there are, thinking that you would love to play video games and get paid for it at the minimum to just even cover the cost of your games, it's a perfect place to start. And then, some of you are going to go on to actually do this for a living. And that is going to just be, fabulous. So, we built this product. Jordan and I, we realized we've been working on this for 8 months.
Yeah.
Somebody said they saw my beard grow in the videos. It's been that long.
I was thinking about that from video to video, and nobody, unless you've purchased it, you probably don't know what we're talking about. It's a series of videos, and it's over 7 hours of videos. And I think during that time, you could see my hair go.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not completely bald right now. You guys notice that? I will be in a couple of days. I had to buy a new shaver. That's a whole other deal. But it's also a money-making opportunity. You guys, okay, let me just tell you what one of the things that I'm teaching in this. I bought a new shaver. There's only one like it that I could find anywhere. And it's so that I can shave my head without having a mirror. Because I can't see in the back of my head. And so it's a special shaver for shaving heads. And there's only one. And so I'm buying this. I'm going to unpackage it on camera. I'm going to shave my head on camera. And I'm going to show everybody how to do it. And I'm going to do it right the first time in one take.
Right on.
And then I'm going to refer sales on this. And this is the exact kind of stuff that we are teaching with this stuff. And so, strap a webcam on the shaver itself. Is that like when I did the GoPro on the end of the vacuum cleaner and was vacuuming off the spiders?
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So, and so this is the kind of stuff that we're teaching. Now, it's ! No job in Twitch chat, and in YouTube, there's a link in the description. This counter that you see on here is a countdown of the bonus content. You're not going to get any less if you miss that timer. But if you get in now before that timer expires, hopefully you're watching live, then you're going to be invited to come in and help us design our initial webinar stuff. And so the stuff that's highest on your mind on how to do this stuff successfully, you're going to get your input in on that. And everybody who comes in after that point just doesn't get invited to that special session. And everybody will get all their stuff.
I'm not going to make any promises, but sessions, possibly. Plural.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out on that. It depends on how many people come in, which actually there's quite a few people signing up. So.
Yes. And by the way, the link that you just dropped. Oh, okay. The link that you just dropped now, JediMarketingTricks.com. That's the.
Oh yeah. I got another one barking out. That's older. Which is okay. But now that we're live, you don't need to get on the early bird special list anymore. You will get the early bird special list. Okay. So, now let's just.
So you want to start at the beginning?
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Well, I just want to clear the air here real quick and say that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme by any means, okay? If anything, this is a get-weird scheme, right?
That's not what I was going to call it. I was going to call it, get successful.
Yeah,
but
which is weird, by the way. So it's a norm in our culture anyway, for people to hate their job, for people to be constantly strapped for cash, for people to not really be doing what they absolutely love. That's the norm, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very weird when somebody like you shows up at a networking meeting with me. I can personally speak from experience, and says, yeah, I just play video games for a living.
Okay, so what Jordan's talking about here is a problem that I have of sucking all the air out of the room. And so I go
No,
to
I
these
never
events
said
with
that.
Jordan. Yeah, I know what you mean. And 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 we go to these events, whether it's a conference or a meeting of other entrepreneurs and stuff. And what happens is that when I stand up and say, "Yeah, I play video games for a living," boom, the room stops, and everybody wants to talk to me, and Jordan feels left out.
No, no, no. I don't. I'm enjoying I'm enjoying the show. I mean, it's a three ring circus because.
But what he's saying there is that it has good power.
Oh yeah.
I get to meet all kinds of people. So the first one that I went to, I sat down next to a rock star.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
this
you did.
guy, I forget his name off the top of my head now, but this guy, I sat down and talked to him, and he works at the virtual reality studio here in Fort Lauderdale that got $3 billion in funding or whatever. Gosh, the name escapes me,
I
but
can't remember. They're the
he's
ones that everybody's talking about that
yeah,
nobody knows what they're doing.
right. Which they just announced that they don't have a product.
Ouch.
Yeah, yeah, epic fail there. But but anyway, but this guy is amazing. He signed Sting. He signed U2. And what was the other rocker that he signed? But basically, he did the initial record deals with them. He's a British guy, and he was fascinating to talk to. Now, would he have talked to me otherwise? He's like, I don't know what video games are. Well, he's like, I know what video games are. I don't play any video games. Tell me more about what you do. That's what he said to me. And so that was cool. And it is definitely, I get to talk to a lot of people because of that. And the more people you know, the more opportunities you have. So,
Yes, absolutely. And I was pretty surprised that he was so captivated because he appeared to be a baby boomer,
yes,
right?
yes.
So, and just to remind everyone, what we're talking about here are the baby boomers are the children of the people who went through World War II and the Depression. And the baby boomers gave birth to Generation X or Gen Xers, which
Hmm.
is Marcus and I. Yep. And then come along
Although
the next.
somehow I identify with millennials a lot. But go ahead.
I'm sure you do, and that dovetails nicely into the next generation, which is the millennial generation, younger
Hmm.
generation. Not always, but often the children of Gen Xers. And by the way, baby boomers. Let's talk real quick about how baby boomers were raised.
Hmm.
Baby boomers were raised by people who went through the Great Depression. Think about that for a second. Not enough food, not enough work. Everything was hand to mouth for many, many Americans. And so the the GI generation is who they're called, provided certain level of advice to the baby boomers that they really felt like was the best advice they could give their children. And in a lot of cases, it was. And the advice sounded a lot like you're going to go and be a doctor. You're going to go and be a lawyer. You're going to go and be, so they kind of, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, the baby boomers had careers thrust upon them that they kind of had to satisfy mom and dad, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So they gave us a tremendous amount of freedom when they were raising the Gen Xers. They said, listen, you can go and be whatever you want, but you should really consider going to school, getting a safe, secure job, and staying there until you get to retire.
That never happens anymore.
Which wasn't true by the 80s, right?
Right, right,
But that was the same kind of advice that they were working off of from their parents, which was
right.
good advice. It was industrial revolution advice, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know if you remember or not, but like their coming of age was like the 80s, right? So you had the yuppie, you had the every man for himself, the kill or be killed attitude with the baby boomers. Not all of them were like that, but that was just the culture. And sure enough, what do we have with Gen Xers is we have Gen Xers who have watched what the baby boomers are doing, and we're like, yeah, not sure we want to like work ourselves to death. That doesn't sound like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of fun. But we still were told that we still have to, work really hard and, hard work is hard and all of those other things that don't necessarily have to be true, but we took them as truth because that came from what? Two or three generations of our family, right? I mean, me
Yeah.
personally, I've been told that work is work and play is play. Work is not fun, or it would be called play.
Right.
So go do work, right? I
No.
was personally told that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, my parents were so disappointed in my grades. Yep. I'm glad they loved me anyway.
Yes, we were very, very fortunate. So here come along the millennials. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what the Gen Xers and the baby boomers say about the millennials? Nothing good. The Gen Xers say things like, and the millennials say things like, they're all they're all lazy, they're self-entitled, just they're whimsical, they're flaky, all these negative attributes. Which I mean, like, if we're painting broad brushstrokes here, it's not always the case, but sometimes it is. But when you take a look at the millennials as a Gen Xer, right? I took a look at the millennials as Gen Xer, and I thought to myself, there is no such thing as retiring anymore, right?
Right.
There's no such thing as or traditional retirement, I should say. Um,
You can't work for the man these days, just getting into the job market and expect that at 55, which used to be, my grandfather retired at 50,
wow,
and then he lived to be almost 90.
wow,
And so he had 40 years of retirement, and he did all kinds of things that were totally amazing. But, he spent, you know, 25, 30 years at a lumber mill working there, and he retired from there. He
yep,
retired as one of the owners. It was like a co-op type thing. And
totally, totally possible in the Industrial Revolution
yeah,
era. Yeah,
yeah,
totally, totally possible, right? Not so much for us anymore. And by the way, is it any wonder that when you and I sit down and talk and I say, geez, these millennials kind of have it rough because they're being painted with this broad brushstroke of they're all being entitled little brats, but really at the end of the day, if you had experienced the same thing that millennials had experienced, you'd feel the same way. You'd feel completely screwed,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
totally screwed. I don't care where you sit on political subjects or controversial stuff. All in all, just totally screwed. No, no, yeah, you're going to live at home until you're 35. Um,
mm-hmm.
why would I buy a car? If I buy a car, I have to pay insurance. If I have to pay,
Right.
I have to pay for maintenance for the car, everything. So there's a million and one ways that the millennials are trying to resist getting trapped,
Mm-hmm,
right? And for
mm-hmm.
good reason. They're totally screwed, right?
Yeah.
And here they come up with an idea, and the idea is almost universal with millennials, and that is let's go and sink our time into experience,
Absolutely. I'm right
right?
there with them.
Yes, you are, right? And how
Mm-hmm.
cool is that, right? You got to give them props. Say, if I'm screwed with everything else, I might as well just enjoy the experiences that I can get. And this is where we get weird, right? This is where we get success, is because if you focus on doing stuff that you absolutely love doing and you have an entrepreneurial spirit about you, you can find a way of making money doing it.
I know you know exactly what I'm going to say here.
I'm all
Maybe not,
ears.
but do what you love, and the money will follow.
Yeah.
Which I have found to be true over and over and over again. I've had these things that I wanted to do. I wanted to play video games. My ex-wife told me that I'm spending too much time playing video games and I should probably get paid for it. And I thought, holy shit, exactly. And I turned it into money.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be telling that story here. I really hope we have enough time. Jordan, I don't mean to rush you, but
go ahead.
I think that we have, God, it might take over 2 hours to tell all of this.
All right.
So I hope you got a drink. So anyway, and I'm really excited. I've never told this story all at once. And there's a whole bunch of people here who are in the industry who know what I'm talking about. I see you guys wave and say hello, and so I'm happy to have you here. And I'm going to, a lot of you are going to be very excited about what you hear, and some of you are going to be pissed off by what you hear, because I have a couple of really negative things to say about one company, and I'm totally going to drop the bomb on them. And I don't care because they've just screwed with me so bad. And so, but that's all part of being an entrepreneur, is that you look for these opportunities and you take dangerous steps out there to try and take advantage of these opportunities. Because if you have no risk, you don't have the reward. Or little risk, little reward, great risk, big reward. It's just like the dungeon raids, which I've turned off in Twitch chat, by the way. The more people that get in on it and the more money they put in, the more likely they are to die. But if they make it out alive, it's great. You're making bank. So, okay, continue on, Jordan.
Well, I just want to preface what you're about to talk about. You stumbled upon this really, really awesome opportunity of fucking awesomeness. I thought you were gonna be there right with me.
Fuck.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah. So,
but it was all from the love of what you were doing and knowing in your heart that you could make money doing it. Right. And somebody in chat, Travis King, he's like, hey,
Travis is one of the pioneers of the industry I'm about to talk about.
Okay, great.
He was right there at the beginning.
Okay, great. Then you see his comment. Take it away.
Oh, that he's got popcorn? No, I didn't see his other comment. No. Let's see here.
We're talking about on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Says,
there he is. Some serious generalizing. You are giving reasons about why you should be an entrepreneur. Are you giving reasons about why you should be an entrepreneur? Now, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. You don't need to be an entrepreneur. If you want to be an entrepreneur, we're going to help you with that.
Yeah. And I'd also like to add that, can you hear my dogs barking?
Yeah. Yeah. Are they attacking trolls outside?
Yeah, I'm going to have to I think I'm going to close my door, but you're still going to hear them. My vicious attack chihuahuas. Hold on.
Right. Okay, so Travis was there at the beginning, and so, yes, we're going to talk about some really specific stuff here, and I'm really excited to do so, but I want to remind everybody what actually brought up us wanting to do this show was that both Jordan and I love being entrepreneurs. I can't imagine doing anything else. If I'm working for somebody, internally what I say is, I'm not going to be here very long. And the reason is because I know I'll be unhappy. And so I can do some amazing things at different places. I can tell you about the time, which I'll have to tell in another story, but when I was at the Department of Energy and I reorganized an entire department, even though I was a contractor, causing these federal employees, half of them, to lose their position and get reassigned to other places because I made it so much more efficient. That's what an entrepreneur does. You find things and you find the efficiencies and you put it in, and I love doing that. And I was loved and hated at the same time. It was almost like they gave me a going away cake that says it was nice knowing you, and I know at the bottom that what they had scratched off of there said, now fuck off, or something like that. Because half of them really enjoyed having me there and the other half didn't. But I didn't care. And I've gotten fired from so many jobs because I didn't care. I'm like, this is right. This is what you need to do. And that's the way I've looked at it. And sure, that's hurt me. But it's also it's one of my greatest attributes. And I embrace that. So,
And it's a way of thinking. It's
yeah.
not it's not necessarily what you do. What you do is a result of what you think, right? So it's not like you are either an entrepreneur or you are not, and you don't have a job. A lot of people have a job and are entrepreneurs. It's just a way of thought, right?
So, so anyway, I wanted to take all of this. Jordan and I, both being entrepreneurs, being successful at it, we decided to get together in this exciting space of video games and to build this curriculum for how to get paid to play video games. And that's what the no job thing is. Exclamation point no job in Twitch chat, and there's a link in the description in YouTube. And that timer is for some bonus stuff. If the timer runs out and you don't get in there in time, don't sweat it. You're still going to learn everything, and you're still going to have as much access to everything, and you're still going to have, be able to have as much impact with everything. It's just that if you're in right now, you're going to be the initial group, and you're going to actually tell us what you need and want, and then we're going to disseminate that out with everyone. And so, so the topic of the show is that, blazing a new trail, which there's the safe way to be an entrepreneur and there's the risky way to be an entrepreneur. And this is the most risky way. Those people who invent something new and try and put it out there. Do you guys watch Shark Tank? All the time. They're like, this is such a great idea. I'm out. Why do they say that? They say that because they don't want to have to educate the public, that the consumers, on this brand new thing. They get it, but it took them 15 minutes to explain it to them to get it. And then once they see it, it's like, aha. It's one of those aha moments, which we have all the time. And, and then we act on those. But if you have to stop 15 minutes and talk with each person to get them to get it, to buy it, then it's not going to happen, is it? It's not. It's just too much manpower. And so, but that's what blazing a new trail is. And I did that by accident. I didn't intend on blazing a new trail. I had always done things that were safe. And so, when I was a kid, lawn mowing business. When I was a teenager, I was building computers and selling memory. When I was in my early 20s, I opened a computer store. I was replicating what other people did and being successful at it. But then this opportunity happened. It was called video games. It was Ultima Online, which was something brand new in its own space, because it was this massive multiplayer game where people, when you ran into another character in the game, they were a real person playing them. They really were. And by the way, I'm going to show you the documentary intro here coming up when we get to that point in this story. But I've got that queued up for everybody so that you can see the documentary film that's being filmed on this. And I don't know if Anthony and Carl are here or not. If you are, say hello. But Anthony is a producer and director, and Carl is the editor of the film. And anyway, so at this point, I am spending an enormous amount of hours. I'm going to work for 40 hours, 40, was it? No. Well, I was an entrepreneur. Okay, so what was I doing at the same time? I don't even know.
You weren't a bust.
I had my computer company.
Oh, okay.
And so while I was at my computer company, I'm jonesing to go play Ultima Online. And I was there for opening day of it. And it was kind of a problem, You can't focus on both at once. And I'm playing so much of this game. I'm playing like 40 hours a week. And so my wife says to me, if you're spending this much time on it, you could be making money doing other things. Yeah. Wow. Mind blown. Let's just figure out how to do it. And so that's what I did. Now, what happened is that I saw something happen, which gave me that aha moment. But, if I were looking for this is what everybody says. I want to go and I want to create something new, and I want to blaze this new trail and everything. But in reality, everyone wants to choose that path. but there are very few that are successful at it. And you need to have some success behind you before you can embark on something like this. You got to be able to afford to lose money for 6 months or a year, on your venture that's blazing a new trail, because it may not work. And so, we all want to be known for having invented something or being famous or whatever. So this one happened to me by accident, because I didn't have the money to do all of this. If any of you have heard my story about my computer company and what happened at the end of it, we were so successful that it spun out of control. And then I was so busy with trying to take care of it, I got screwed. And I got robbed. And that's a whole nother story. We'll get into some failure stuff at another time. But I was so successful that I failed. And it's just really hard to understand. But, it's like the line of people to come and buy shit was so big they stampeded me.
Wow.
Well, I would call that a fail.
Wow. Okay.
But okay, so it was September of 1997 is when Ultima Online released, and by October, and it was like September 20th, I think. So it was only it had only been going for maybe a couple of weeks. And I saw something very interesting. I saw somebody say in game, "Hey, somebody is trying to sell a sword from the game on eBay." So I immediately went and looked. And there was a sword for like $20. And I'm like, holy shit, I've got one of these. That's really worth $20? I was just like, wait, people will buy this? And that just blew my mind. And but then also at the same time, I'm like going, you know what? I can get more of these. And if people are willing to pay $20 for these, then, maybe I can sell them to them. And so I started testing this. And so I took some of my stuff. I had multiple accounts, and I decided, okay, let's take this one account, which I had played for, I don't know, I don't even know how many hours I had into it. I had a house. It was placed down someplace. The character had moderate skills or whatnot. He had some items. And I decided, okay, let's see if I can sell this stuff. And I put that account up for sale, and I was amazed at how much the auction went for. So people were just rabid to get this stuff. And it was very exciting. I mean, I was like, wow, I just want to live here. And so then I decided, okay, I'm going to buy some stuff from other players. And so I had some money at this point because I had sold a couple of things. And I think I sold one account for like $250, another one for like $500. And I'm like going, holy shit, I haven't even put this much money into it. And I'm having fun playing the game. And now I'm starting to make money. What is this?
So if I may interrupt you for just 1 second, I see a pattern with what you're doing, and I just want to make sure everybody else does too.
All right.
So in last week's or last show's episode, we were talking about how you have a very systematized process for creating a new project or going on a new adventure. And it does not include, by the way, getting a second mortgage on your house and betting the farm on something. It includes incremental tests to see how things go. You're not investing a lot of time. You're not investing a lot of money. You're testing. If the tests work out, then you just simply do more of it. And that's what I'm seeing you do here. Yeah. And I just wanted to throw that out there because I think formulas are really important, especially when you do risk stuff. And your time is, I don't care what anybody says, is the most valuable resource that you have. I mean, there's just no question about it.
It's not infinite. And so it obviously has value.
Yes. You have one non-renewable resource that you do not protect as much as you should on a regular basis, and that's time. So you managing that, Marcus, is, I think, a very, very smart thing to do. But please continue. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. So I started buying stuff from other players, and then I started testing reselling it, and I found on average I was getting like 3 times as much as what I was buying it for. And so that was big money. That was really big money. Wow. And very exciting. I mean, and this was probably around the time when when I was so busy doing this and operating my computer store and everything that literally I missed things, and that was very, very bad.
Okay.
So I lost my company, my other company, and it wasn't because I was playing the game or whatnot. It's just because I was not wise enough. I was not paying attention to the right things and everything. And we talk about some of that in this curriculum and everything of what things are important to pay attention to. Because if you haven't been there yet, you really need to take someone's advice on this because it's so true that you can mess up, bam, just like that, and lose everything. And I know this because I've lost everything twice. I laugh about it now, but yeah, actually I've lost everything more than that, more than twice. It's just there's only twice that I publicly talk about.
Well, what's the statistic? Entrepreneurs lose
So
everything?
entrepreneurs lose everything an average of 2.5 times before they hit it big.
Okay.
So I am due. Yeah, the optimist here.
Right on.
So
So
there
you're,
was some.
so
Go
you're
ahead.
so you're testing things. Things are going well. What comes next?
Fraud. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but actually, during this time while I'm testing things, we start noticing. So I'll get to the fraud next. But during this time, I'm testing things, and I'm finding out that there are a few other people that have started doing this as well. And so by this time, I had really made a name for myself, and a lot of people were coming to me, wanting to buy and sell items. And I was treating this like a full-time job. I mean, this was becoming very busy, and in fact, with having the computer store gone, I was spending a lot of time working on this stuff, and it was all great. But so what happened is that we had this group of 8 of us, and that we put together. That I joined this group of other people that they called brokers in UO. And I thought it was a dumb name. I'm like, what are we talking about here? But that's what everybody was going by. And so I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, I should join these guys. And because working together with other people is good. Which is part of why we decided that this product that we're selling, that you get to bring somebody along with you with it. So you buy it and you bring a friend. And so because there's much more synergy that happens when you have somebody to work with. I can tell you this product would not have happened without Jordan's help and
Thanks, man.
us working together. So he's a very important part of it. And so it what we have working together seems to make a complete thing here, which is really awesome. And so if you have a part that you're missing that someone else can fill, you invite them along with you. And so I joined these guys, and what happens next is that the person who was leading the group, just like one afternoon, says to us, by the way, I've sold the domain, and all of you will be working for so-and-so now. And I had only vaguely heard of this other person, and none of us knew anything about this. And so what happened next was a coup. I'm like, screw that. I'm not gonna change this whole environment that's really working under someone else who is wanting to do business with this, because we're already doing business. When somebody else wants to come in and do business on top of us, what that tells me is more overhead. And Richard, if you're listening, hello. Richard was the one that bought it. Yeah,
okay.
we've talked over the years and stuff. So,
Okay.
and in fact, I've done a lot of work for them. So, it wasn't all bad. But at that moment, I'm like, heck no. And so I talked to a buddy of mine, and I'm like, how quickly can you program this functionality so that we can buy and sell our stuff? And he's like, give me a day. And I'm like, done.
Wow.
And I told everybody, tomorrow we launch with this new thing, and I'm not going to take any of your money. You guys are going to make your own money, but we're going to work together in the synergy. We're all going to work together for the greater good, and that's your payment.
Wow.
And that worked out amazingly, especially because of the fraud. So back then, PayPal did not exist. It was X.com. And it was really kind of a different thing. And everybody's like, no way a bank is going to allow you to transfer cash over the internet and stuff. And these guys aren't really a bank. So there's something really fishy about this. And it was hard to use. Many banks wouldn't even support it if you wanted to transfer money up to them. And but we started taking payments online and trying to do this. Most of the stuff that we did at that point was Western Union. And so people wanted to send you $50, they'd pay 60, they'd pay an extra $10 to send you 50 and everything. Sure. And it supposedly was not reversible. If you've listened to the news lately, you know that Western Union is paying out big time because they have gypped people who sent money that was fraudulent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I had something really incredible happen to me with Western Union. They reversed payments to me. Now, how does that happen? When you receive money at the desk, when you go to get your next one, they say, I'm sorry, you owe us $100 for this other one that we were defrauded on. And so this one's $200, we're only giving you $100.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, send it back. And they're like, well, we're only going to send back $100. I was totally screwed.
Wow.
That happened a couple of times. We were using Western Union because it was safe. So.
That's a great spiel. That's a great pitch.
And now there's a big thing where people are getting paid for being screwed like that. But I think mine was too long ago. So, but they actually proved that it was in their culture and in their business stuff that they were doing this to people. So, so anyway, so we built this tool. We were able to buy and sell stuff and everything, and we started working together, and it was a great synergy. And this synergy provided us with back-end information. And so I got two pieces of information. You guys haven't heard this before, especially if you were in the group. I knew what all you were buying and selling and at what prices. That was incredibly valuable information to me. And I don't think I ever mentioned that before. But I built the tool, and so I didn't even have to look at who was buying and selling. I just knew that something sold for this much and something was bought for this much. So I don't know if I knew whose it was. I probably did. But that was totally like inside information, which totally helped propel me and knowing what it is I should be offering people for product and what it is I should be selling for. And usually it was I would offer a little bit more and sell it for a little bit more. And that's kind of how I rolled. So and we did some really incredible things with this group. And we on the back end, we shared information on who was fraudulent, who was doing the fraud. Anytime we took a reversal, we would put them on a list that we shared. And so all of us knew that this person was not to be dealt with. We had an internal blacklist. And
good for you. That's smart.
That was, well, it was really good. And in fact, to this day, I actually still have that data.
Wow.
It's in our store.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I still have this data of who should not be dealt with. And people have come to me 10 years later trying to buy something, and we have turned them down because of the same person.
Wow.
You steal from me 10 years ago, I'm not going to take your money now. So,
That's awesome.
Tilt your camera down just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. So, anyway, then what happened is we started to get attention for what we were doing. There was a really big article that came out that this amazing guy, this famous baseball player, I think it was, and they interviewed him and they interviewed Richard Garriott. And they're like, because this baseball player is like, I love playing Ultima Online. I do not have enough time to put into the game to play it. And so I bought this castle from somebody else for $13,000, I think it was. And the whole world is like, holy shit, people will buy this stuff? That's an incredible amount of money. You're a dumbass. That's what people were saying about the guy. But no, he had the money, didn't have the time, And so he was buying time. Otherwise, he would have sat there and played and raised his money in the game and then, built his castle. But instead, he chose to pay somebody who had spent all of that time, pay them for their time and effort, and then, it was a transference of value.
Yeah, most people don't really get the question. They don't get the answer to the question, what is expensive? It's just an equation, right? It's not. There is no amount of money that's expensive. It's an equation, right? Because there's a transfer of value going on somewhere. So as a matter of fact, and here's a very good golden nugget that I picked up along the way, that if somebody says to you, it's too expensive, if you're selling, whatever you're selling, it's too expensive. What they're really saying is, I don't see the value.
Yeah, they're like, I want it, but I'm not willing to part with that much money
for what you're delivering to me, right? So it's not that, I mean, on occasion it's because the person just doesn't have any money, but in a sales funnel you should have pre-qualified them out first. So if people don't have money, you shouldn't be trying to sell them anyway.
Right. There's no need for them to know about the product if they have no ability to purchase it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And on that note, I just wanted to share with you, I don't know if I told you this before, but as we're getting people purchasing this newly released product, I'm getting more people saying, hey, you guys really didn't charge enough for this. This is, and what I'm taking that as great. They're seeing tremendous value.
I had some comments on the live show earlier about this, about just the first session thing was amazing, and of the value. So yeah.
Good. If you just get one good idea or process or system out of any purchase that you make, I mean, just think in terms of what you can do with it, right? Much less all of the value that you get in.
I've done that before. I went to this conference one time, and on the very opening night, they dropped a golden nugget, and they said, "Do this, and you're going to see a 1% increase in sales." And so I immediately went back to my hotel room, and I made this one change on my sales stuff, and by the next morning, I saw that it was more than 1%. Which, I knew that within the next few days was going to pay for the money I spent on the conference. So that's exactly what we've got here, is that there's so much good stuff in here that that if you only take away one thing out of it that improves your stuff, you're getting the value back. So
yeah, and most people will get more than that. But the bottom,
absolutely.
But I really didn't mean to hijack the conversation. I was pointing out that you've got somebody who is affluent or very, very wealthy. $13,000 to them might be like $13 for us.
Right.
Or whatever, right? It just, it's just so, like, they make so much money. They have so much liquid cash on hand. I mean, that, it's more valuable to them to.
I call it entertainment dollars. When I spend money on things like video games and everything, if I'm just buying it so I can play it or whatnot, or I go to a movie or whatnot, if I can't afford to buy that, the tickets to the movie, I shouldn't be going to the movie. And and if anybody complains to me, you shouldn't be spending that money on a video game, and I'm like, it's entertainment dollars. If I get $1 an hour for my playtime, that is way better than any movie ticket I could buy. And so that's my kind of scale on that.
So I could charge you $1,000 for a video game if you could play it for the next 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have
as much fun. That's called subscription. It's already happening. Somebody else had that same idea.
Yeah, right. So what is expensive? $1,000. You go and ask somebody off the street, is a $1,000 video game expensive? And they'd say, yeah. I mean, they wouldn't even think about it, right? Yeah. And here you are selling a $13,000 castle or they
Well,
were
it wasn't me that sold
purchasing.
it. Yeah, it's just a news article that came up, and I'm like, everybody's fascinated in this. There's something more to this. By the way, General Thad, he mentions I don't look like the picture on the thumbnail. Yeah, well, it's because that thumbnail comes from the video I'm going to show you all here in a little bit on the documentary film that's been filmed about me for the last 10 years. So, anyway, that's why. So, okay, so there was these news articles, there was CNN, New York Times and stuff, and they started talking about us. And so when I realized another opportunity here, when the press was all over this other thing, this guy buying this $13,000 castle, I'm like, okay, guys, we need to start reaching out to the press because they want to know about this stuff. And I started reaching out. And I ended up talking to CNN, and I ended up talking to the New York Times, and I ended up talking to the Taipei Times, and I ended up talking to all of these different places. And I was in all of these different articles all over the place. And what that led to, and that was me contacting the reporters, saying, here's the technology reporter. I'm like, you want to know more about this people buying virtual items? Let's talk. And they're like, this is hot. Let's go. You know? And so you can contact the press. That right there. If you guys don't know this, this is the golden nugget. This is part of the 80-20 rule. This is the 20% that makes 80% of the money. If you don't know this, learn it right now, which is you can contact the press. Anytime something is hot on the news and you deal in that area, you literally should call all of the news agencies in your local area and start doing it. And if some of them pick it up, what happens is sometimes national will pick it up. And it just goes from there. And so
Yeah, and if I may, there's somebody on the desk at most news outlets who is responsible for filling a book of different types of content.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd be talking to that guy, and he's looking at what's trending, right? So if you know what's trending, and there's this really cool website on the internet that you can go to. It's called Google. And you can go and search things on Google and see what's trending. And
well, you can go to Google Trends.
That's right. Google Trends is one of them.
Yeah.
And you can match your message to what he's looking at in his 3-ring binder. So if he's looking at a trending news story and you're telling him the same things that he's reading in his 3-ring binder, then he's going to want to talk to you. And a lot of people are going to want to talk to you. And you don't have to start with big news organizations, because big news organizations get their feeder content.
That's what I was saying about going national. You contact your local people. Yeah. And 3-ring binders are so old school.
They still use them.
Oh, okay.
I'm not kidding. They still use them. Yeah.
Okay.
I have it on very good authority. Yeah.
Okay. Well then. So, yeah. Well, just saying. So the New York Times article led to like the Taipei Times contacting me, and which is foreign country, and I'm like, what the hell do they want to know? And the BBC contacted me, and I did a couple of radio things on the BBC, a couple of radio interviews and stuff like that, and I'm like, this is worldwide. So then what happened was that Wired magazine came calling. And I'm going to get to that, but I'm kind of going through this in a timeline. So what I want to talk about next, though, is the creation of something brand new. So the first blazing the trail was just buying and reselling these intangible goods. This sword that you couldn't actually hold in your hand, but you could give to a character in the game, and making money off of that. But the second thing was the whole time issue. Like this guy who's a famous baseball player, and he's spending $13,000 on this castle or whatnot. Well, guess what? The person they probably bought it from is probably retired, or a student in college, or somebody who just has a lot of time on their hand to be able to make that much money in the game, to be able to build a castle. And so there's this exchange thing that happens in video games that have a subscription. Many of you who play EVE Online know it as Plex. Believe it or not, I and the group of guys that I was with, we decided that this monthly payment that people were paying, I went out and bought all of the time cards for Ultima Online. And I bought as many as I could locally. I went to every single one of the game stores after I sold a couple of them. And you know what I sold them for? I sold them for gold in the game. And so this $10 card, which paid for a subscription for a month, the code on that, they would hand me the gold in the game. And I would hand them this code. I would send it to them through ICQ. How many of you remember ICQ? Yes, 2128302. That was my number. So, and so...
Yep, speaking of 3-ring binders.
Right. Mine was still digital. But
Fair enough.
So
hold on. How much did you get in virtual gold?
Okay, so that's what I was going to say. Is that, okay, so I have this $10 card. And I traded it for gold. The amount of gold that I traded it for was worth $20. So you get this exchange here? So I go out and I pay $10 for this card. I take it and I sell it to someone in-game for this, for $20 worth of gold. This gold that I go out and I sell for $20. I sell it for $20. I now have $20. I go buy 2 more cards. And you should have seen the stacks and stacks and stacks of cards that I had. I was so tired of scratching off that damn silver stuff and then typing them in.
Wow.
And dyslexic me typing all of these, that was a disaster.
Wow.
I eventually hired somebody to do that. And so, but in every revolution, you know, I was doubling my money. And what a perfect thing. So, and now the people that I was selling these to were the people who were retired, disabled, you know, had all this extra time. And they were, and so they had all this extra time, so they had extra money in the game. So I was providing them a value that they then did not have to give out that money monthly to the game company. But the game company still was making their $10 per person per month. And so it was a complete win. I mentioned this to Richard Garriott, and he's like, holy shit. You know, he thought that was absolutely fantastic. That people could play his game that cost $10 a month and play it for free.
And now, you were talking to Richard Garriott. Let's all get a refresher on who Richard Garriott is, just in case.
Well, he's the creator of Ultima Online. And he's also known as the godfather of MMOs. So he was there in the birth of it.
Gotcha.
And he's still there. I mean, he's doing Shroud of the Avatar right now. And
which we play.
Yes, we do.
Lots of fun. Yeah. So you've got a question in Twitch about getting scammed. Didn't you get scammed while you were trying to, you know, sell the codes and all of that? How did you protect yourself? And by the way, I think it's a great question. Lukino 805, great question, because I asked Marcus that about his current business today, because it's a relevant question.
I had to learn the super hard way.
Okay.
I mean, I paid for my education in the losses. So, you know, we in the area of selling a time code for gold, or Plex is the equivalent in Eve right now, except we're an authorized reseller. So there's a big different thing here. We're authorized to do it in Eve, and in UO there was no authorizations given. Nobody knew anything about this stuff. Nobody had any clue. They're like, holy cow, this is amazing. And so, but there was no negativity at this point about any of it. And so when I took the gold, I always got the gold first. And so they're like, how can I trust you? And I'm like, well, look at all these customer testimonials.
Ooh.
You know? Yeah.
Okay.
And so you don't know who I am. That's okay. I tell you what, go do a little research, ask your friends, find somebody who's done business with us, and then come back. And most people would. So anyway, but that was on them giving me the gold first and then me giving them the time code. The gold couldn't be reversed once I got it. And so, but if someone was buying something from me like the gold and they're paying cash, that's when things got really rough. and I can tell you that I took $13,000 in losses from one single person one time.
What?
Yes, and he got our whole group. He was very coordinated. He got our whole group in a matter of about a day for about $30,000 for the group of 8 of us.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it was a really big deal to us. So now a lot of us were making good money, and so it didn't cause us to shut down, and we didn't lose the roof over our head, because at this point I was somewhere in the 10,000 per month in profit, and I always kept putting it back in, and so taking this kind of loss, it put my account negative for I was negative for a couple of weeks. And,
so it stung, but it stung to the tune of 3 months worth of profit, but it didn't bankrupt your company, which it certainly could have.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. So you kind of learned the hard way.
Oh, absolutely. And that's not even the biggest loss that I've taken. I've taken bigger losses since then. I don't think I have them. Oops. Thank you for sleeping my monitors. Okay, we're back. Yeah. Okay, I got to remember to move the mouse every once in a while. So, I've taken other losses and stuff, and I just call this expensive education. Anybody who's out there risking is gonna take some hits, and so you just got to have what I call the oh shit fund. You got to have this money you don't touch that covers your expenses, covers your operating cost. Optimally, if you can have 6 months worth of operating cost sitting someplace where maybe the money is leveraged, but it's always available to you to fund your operating costs in case something totally disastrous happens. It could be you get robbed, it could be a natural disaster, it could be war, it could be anything. And you need to be able to survive that, because if you've got a good thing, after this event happens, you need to be able to pick up and continue on. So, anyway, yeah. So what we found was, so we started investigating in all of this deeper, and what we found is that there was this thing called organized crime, and that organized crime had now realized what it was going on in the games, and this buying and selling of virtual items, of currency in the games. And they said, what a perfect way to launder money. And so there was money laundering stuff happening, and there was then there was stolen credit cards being used with us. And they'd make a new PayPal account and they'd add it to there, or they'd use a credit card with us directly or whatnot. And so we learned how to sniff out the bad guys. We had to. And so I got really, really good at it. And I got so good at it that I was able to identify that Electronic Arts had lost $500,000 to them, and Electronic Arts didn't even know. And so you guys maybe have heard some interviews that I've done with some of the scammers on my channel. Those are real people. Those are people who I lost money to, but they like to brag about how well they've done. I call these guys and I'm like, hey, you got us pretty good. Will you tell me your story? And do you mind sharing it with others? And you know what? About 1 out of 4 or 5 says, hell yeah. And then I'm like, will you go on camera? And they say, hell no. Okay, let's just do it in audio. I only have one of them where the guy went on camera. So, anyway, and so this group had hit EA for over $500,000, and EA didn't believe me. They're like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay, but I know this is happening, and here's the proof. And I'm like, you guys better look at this. And then have law enforcement contact me. The next day, the FBI called me. And they're like, yes, we've been assigned to this pretty major case at Electronic Arts, and I understand you have some information for us. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. So
wow.
ended up giving them all the information. I don't know if I ever got a thank you from them or not. No,
Probably not.
probably not. Probably not.
Yeah.
So
Well, we've got less
Yeah.
than half an hour to go, man.
yeah. So we got 23 minutes here before the bonus expires. The product doesn't expire, but the bonus. So let's just talk about that again real quick here. And so the whole reason for this show is that we are sharing our entrepreneurial knowledge with all of you. And we want the success that we've had to translate to success for you. And the first place that we've gone with this, taking all of our knowledge, is playing video games and getting paid for it. Because who the hell does not want to get paid to play video games? So if you don't want to get paid to play video games, say so in chat. I really want to see that. And then I'm going to call you all trolls. So, anyway, so, sorry. So this is the Ultimate Gamer's Guide to YouTube Success. And we are going to teach you how to get started with playing video games and getting paid for it. And we're going to empower you and give you the tools that you need to tell your mom and dad or your wife or your husband or whoever, your boss, that says there's no way you can make a living playing video games. And you can flip them the bird and say, see ya, on your way out the door as you're making more money than what you're making at your day job. That's when I decided to quit my day job. I was making 3 times as much money on the side doing stuff than my day job that I had at the time. And I'm like, this is nuts. And I quit my day job and started doing this full time, and I went to like 5 or 10x as much because I spent that much more time into it. And so
what I got to tell you, I don't mean to interrupt you, but what really impresses me about every time that you've gone and done something entrepreneurial, you didn't just throw caution to the wind. You always had your cash flow managed, either with a job or something else was going on.
Well, I act like it. No, that is my shortfall. That's why Alexandra is my business partner with my Game Codes company. Our Game Codes company. We're business partners on that together. I need her, expertise in that area. And that's why you work with other people and not 100% alone. There's a point where you have to make that jump to work with other people. Even if you're a successful YouTuber or streamer, you still at a point need to level up your game, and you can't do it on your own. And that's what this is all about. So it's ! No job in Twitch chat. And in YouTube, there's a link in the description. Now, the bonus thing right here is that you get to be involved in our first webinar, which is not going to be anything that's public. It's only going to be the people who are in within the next 20 minutes. I'm sorry if you're watching this on video later, but you're not going to miss out on any of the content. You're just going to not be there for the initial thing of telling us what's most important on your mind, which most likely, if you've missed it, is what's most important on your mind, is when they've told us that. But everyone's going to get listened to, even after this time period. It's just going to take a little bit longer to get to the other stuff. So basically, if you want to quit your day job and play video games for a living, you want to get in on this. It costs less than a video game. And, as we've been talking about, you bring somebody along with you. So this is not just for you, it's for you and a partner. That could be a partner in real life, like spouse, or it could be a business partner, or it could be somebody else that you just play video games with that is also interested in making money. And so you get to bring them along. And anything else to add to that?
Yeah, that's great. We know that there would be no Steve Jobs without a Steve Wozniak.
Right.
Right? There would be no huge epic name next to any logo of any business without at least one person participating, helping them out.
I've got the perfect example of this.
Okay.
There would be no guide for the Gamer's Ultimate Guide to YouTube Success without Marcus and Jordan. because he didn't have all the knowledge on
Nope.
on the video game industry and how to do this.
Nope, not even close.
I know about this other kind of marketing and about putting all this stuff together, and Jordan's doing a fantastic job on that. But I couldn't do it all myself. Otherwise, I would have already done this. So it just clicked when we first met. I mean, we liked each other, but then it was like, I think we've got an opportunity here. And that's another thing. You know, we talk about that kind of stuff, recognizing opportunity.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Very, very important to have a team.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have a team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, you can start on your own, but eventually you're going to want to, you know, eventually you're going to need help, and that might even be just hiring people, so that you can fire them if you don't like them. Hard to fire a business partner.
Yeah, that's true.
Easy to fire an employee.
A crying shame asked, how do we bring along our friend? What it's gonna look like is we're going to give you an opportunity to bring a friend along in our closed, exclusive Facebook group where we're talking about all this stuff, and we're going to invite them along to the webinar that we have just for the people who purchase this product, so that you actually get some support along with having your friend along helping you do this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so let's continue on, and I'm going to mention this again probably about 5 minutes before the end. So, and it costs less than a video game. So, you know, if you truly are an entrepreneur, you know that it's worth a chance, because entrepreneurs take risks.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you truly want to be an entrepreneur, you know, if you're going to go hungry tonight because you buy this, then don't. But if you're still going to have your roof over your head, and you're still going to have, you know, food tonight, then do it. So, and you're going to get to work with us.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that's going to be that's probably going to be really cool as well. So, okay, so continuing on with this stuff. So what happened was, and I mentioned that Wired magazine came in. And so Wired magazine started writing some articles about us, and then it started lighting up with that. And then they did a huge article that was cover story of the magazine. It was Julian Dibble who wrote these, and well, he's an author. He wrote he wrote the book Play Money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which, by the way, ! Play Money in Twitch chat. I don't have a command for it in YouTube, but you can. The audiobook is free right now, so if you're into that, so he was writing these articles, and we were getting all this mad attention, especially with all of this, you know, all of this media attention. You can't buy advertising like that. I mean, we had people just wanting to do business with us all the time. It was truly amazing. And so, then what happened is Julian said, hey, he said to one of the other guys, can I be a broker with you guys? He was so interested in this story that he was learning about. He's like, hell yeah, I want to do this myself. Which is kind of like why you should jump on board to get paid to play video games. Because hell yeah, I want to do this too. So so one of the other guys came to me. It was Bob, and he says, you know, I've been talking a lot with Julian, and Julian wants to broker with us. And I told him that we really need your blessing, because I was kind of running the whole group, and we were very anal about who we brought in, because we needed to be very, very careful that if we brought in somebody into the group that was scamming people, that would be disastrous, because it would ruin our reputation. And in fact, we fired a couple of brokers, because a couple of brokers, we kicked them out of the group because we kept getting too many complaints of people getting screwed. You get one complaint and you're like, okay, well, I hear it. You know, you get two complaints and you wonder, what's going on here? You talk to the other person, they deny it. Okay, fine. You get 5 more complaints, and you verify that these are all different people, and that it's not just one person over and over making, making a complaint, under different names, and you boot the person. So, you just got to get rid of them. And some people were really upset about getting rid of those. I mean, really upset, like threatening and everything, because they were making really good money with this stuff, and they were being removed from their source. And so, anyway, so Julian comes along and he says, I'd really like to do this. And so I talked to him and I'm like, what is the thing? Now, he had credentials. I mean, I think he's a Harvard grad and everything. And, which then said to me, why would he want to do this? But come to find out, he wanted to write this book. And so he embedded himself with us for a year. And all that time, he wrote this book about his adventure doing this. And at the very end of it, it's really funny because he goes to pay his taxes, but the IRS does not know how to categorize this money for what he should pay taxes on. And so they told him that he needed to pay them, I think it was $20,000, to fund a study to find out what category his tax stuff should go under. It's really quite funny.
And did he volunteer?
He did not pay it. He did not pay it. He paid his taxes. And what we were doing is, since the IRS had no clue of how to deal with this kind of stuff, we're like, it's just like a retail store. We buy product, we bring it in, we put it on the shelf, we sell it, cash comes in, goes out. Mm-hmm. It's just a profit off of that you're paying taxes on. So that's how we dealt with it, and the IRS never said boo to us about that. They were just fine with us giving them their money.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So anyway, he wrote this book, and I have a copy of it over here. And so there's the book. I finally, when this book came out, I finally thought, okay, maybe my parents will understand what I'm doing now. Because I struggled for a long time telling people what it was I was doing, and they just didn't get it. And so I gave a copy of this book to both my mom and my dad. I don't know if they read it or not, but they at least read enough to understand kind of what I was doing. And so that was a big win. And then comes along, you want me to explain what a broker is? A broker is just somebody who buys and sells, and a broker is kind of like a trusted person, or a broker is somebody who's saying, I'll buy and I'll sell, or I'll broker deals. So, and that's what we were doing in the game. So so then comes along the Play Money documentary, which I'm going to show you all the trailer for that coming up here shortly. But so there's a documentary film after this book came out. This then inspired another person to do this documentary film. So you see how all this works? I contact my local media. Local media goes to national. National ends up at Wired. Wired ends up at this book, Play Money. The book ends up at a documentary film, which hasn't come out yet. They're still not done filming it. We're filming the rest of it here this spring. So, and so that is, I guess that portion of it.
And by the way, we have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
On our countdown, and there are a couple of questions that keep coming up.
Sure.
By the way, what we're talking about now is not the kind of stuff that we put in this product. We're not talking about how to generate PR for yourself, although that might make a pretty interesting future product.
I think that should be an intermediate or advanced.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some people who are asking, I think it was ZW here, said, what if your day job already allows you to stay home and play video games? Do we still need to buy this? Look, you don't need to buy anything. You don't need to buy this.
You're still dependent on somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to generate multiple streams of income, this is a cool product to start with. It's not for everybody, but if you want to learn more about how to do it, we deliver value.
Actually, if you're already at home, working from home, getting paid by somebody else to do whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, maybe you're a firefighter and you just have to answer the phone and fight the fire over the phone or something, which that's called tech support. And and so you have all this time where you're playing video games. Why not add extra income to that and start producing some content and getting paid for the content? And by the way, in this guide, we're not just saying, oh, here, make videos and get paid in YouTube advertising. YouTube advertising is not where the money's at. The money is at another place, which we're going to tell you about. I saw somebody the other day that's doing this exact same method. His video had 129,000 views, and he made $3,000 off of this other method that we're teaching. And totally legit. There's nothing wrong with it. So, and it way eclipsed the amount of money that he made in advertising. Although he's not throwing away the advertising money. The advertising money is not nearly as important as this other money that he's making. And so we're teaching the multiple streams of income within this product.
Yeah. Somebody else asked. Actually, a couple of people have now asked. Anything in this package help them do what you were doing, like selling game codes? That's not the kind of thing that we're talking about. We're talking about generating income that is not dependent solely on having 1 million subscribers so that YouTube pays you $2 per thousand or there are other ways of generating income other than just solely relying on ad revenue from YouTube, which I think we've talked about in the past, and other YouTubers will say that it's their weakest form of revenue.
They don't ignore it, but it is their weakest form. Yes.
Yeah.
And so the other stuff, the other businesses that I'm in, what this is all about, and these stories are just kind of about the back end of what's led up to this point. And so and this is not a guide on how to compete with Marky. This is how to go out and get paid to play video games. And so, but I do take these experiences and this knowledge and everything, and we're applying it all to this. And so even things I've learned in my other businesses are being applied to this. So, because they're applicable on all levels.
Yeah, and aside from the in-depth stuff, just the basic stuff, I've shown up to a couple of mastermind groups where there were business owners there who are at the top of their game. They're knocking it dead. And I tell them what I've learned from you. And it's like, record player scratching, all of a sudden crickets in the background. Everybody wants to hear what I learned from a guy who can make a living on YouTube because they want to apply that to their business. And
absolutely.
That is stuff found in this package.
Absolutely. Yes. So, and that's one of the amazing things is that once you have this knowledge, you're going to have a lot of power. Because if you know how to here's another golden nugget. It's just a couple of words here. Outflow equals inflow. So the more that you put out there, the more that you can receive in. And if you're not putting anything out there, nothing's going to come in. And so this is what we're teaching. We're showing examples of how to do this, how to make this all happen, how to do this with this product. Now, if this is successful, which initial numbers say yes, then we're going to apply this to other areas as well. And so we're going to be I don't know, how to I don't know. What is a job that you guys really desire to do? When I grow up, I want to be, or what is it that you want to do? First person, say it in chat. What is it? What's the most amazing thing that you could do? So, and we're going to show that. So it's ! No job in Twitch chat. There's a link in the description on YouTube. There is 3 minutes left. This is just for the bonus. The whole thing is still available after that. Game developer. Zimi says game developer. And so, you aspire to be a game developer. And so you can apply actually the same stuff. So game developer indicates working for somebody else. So let me switch that around to the entrepreneur term of that, which is game creator or game publisher. And so you are making the game. Minecraft was a one-man show for the longest time. He brought in other people when he started to have success. And he was a game creator. He created something enormous, which we can only dream of having that kind of success. But that's exactly what we're talking about here. And so these principles can be applied in many different areas. And so we could say, okay, I want to create a video game company, and that could be our next product. All we have to do is do some research and apply our principles and practices to this, and we could do this. So, and we would bring in industry experts. God knows, I know a few video game creators. I'm not going to drop a whole bunch of names, but I could drop a whole bunch of names. So, you're in for your boys? Okay, so Rolas told me here earlier, he said he fears his kids learning about this product. And he's like, I'm never going to get the computer back if they learn about this or whatnot. And that's so funny. Rolas told me that his boys are 13 and 14 and that they would love to get paid to play video games. And I'm like, perfect age to get started in this stuff. You don't have to be an adult to be an entrepreneur. I know this. My first entrepreneurial stuff, I didn't know I was an entrepreneur, was at 5 years old. And I look back and I know this now. I see those things. So Rolas is in for his boys, which is awesome. So
that is awesome. That is awesome.
So we're gonna have some teenagers in with us. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, man, that's great. That's really great. And I've got no complaints with my parents. My parents are awesome people, and I wish they had known about being an entrepreneur a little bit more of the systemic stuff, so that I could have had that kind of education growing up. No fault of their own. They're great parents, hardworking. They kept a roof over my head, and they were awesome. And they churned out a great employee, which is what I was. I was a fantastic employee, and it took work.
We got 1 minute.
1 minute left. Okay.
I'm just going to remove the timer once it's gone, because we're not going to tease anybody who comes in late.
That's fair.
Exclamation point, no job in Twitch chat. Link in the description in YouTube. You have to get started on it now if you want to get in before the timer runs out. Just saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jordan. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think it would have been a lot easier for me making the transition to be an entrepreneur if I had that education early on. And that kind of stuff is in the package.
Yes. Yeah. We don't turn away any opportunity, because every single thing can be. I mean, what I mean by that is we don't poo-poo the idea. You say, I want to do such and such. And we don't say, oh, you shouldn't do that. Well, unless you want to, like Fusion says. He says he sold drugs in high school. I would. My morals would tell me that I don't help you. And what I would do for you if you wanted to apply these principles to drug dealing was I will give you a refund. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. By the way, there is a money-back guarantee on this as well.
Yep.
So if you get it and you look at it and you say, this is shit, we'll give you your money back.
Yep.
Simple as that. It's not, though.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Okay.
So I got to check our website, because I'm currently our webmaster too.
Yeah. And now I have something on the show that says could not be found. The timer went away.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's see. I just want to make sure the site's still up.
So that is turned off now. Okay. You want to be space rich? We can do that too. Just think. Okay. You guys all know Zarvox Toril. Jordan interviewed Zarvox because I helped him out when he first got started. Give just a couple of details of what he said. And by the way, Zarvox does this for a full-time job with EVE Online. He is space rich.
Yeah, and I was kind of amazed. He doesn't really have that many subs comparatively, right? Like you go onto YouTube and you see some really popular people who have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and he certainly doesn't have that. And he's doing quite well. I think he was he followed the same advice that a lot of us got. Go to school, get a safe, secure job.
Yeah. He has a degree in
Yeah.
like mechanical engineering or something like that.
Yeah. Mechanical engineering, which by the way, that's no slouch, man. That's not like underwater basket weaving. I mean, that's some serious
No,
stuff.
that's
You
a
know what I'm
skill
saying?
too, buddy.
Yeah, no, like mechanical
Yeah.
engineer is a whole new level of thought. And he really like hit the pavement, dressed in a nice suit, went on interviews, couldn't find anything
He
at
was
all.
working in a sandwich shop that like
Had to
his
get a
family owned or something like
Yep,
that.
had to get a job at a deli and tutoring students on math. Well, he's a mechanical engineer, so he was qualified for it. And started streaming, and I think he was doing quite well. I think he was following the rules, and he was getting some attention. But my impression, and I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but my
Right.
impression was he he talked to you for a couple of hours, and um, you kind of gave him some free consulting, from what I'm to understand.
Let's just say that in just a couple of hours of working with me, he dramatically upped his game. And he got past these pain points and these hurdles, things that he was having trouble with, and was able to dramatically then increase his viewership and his audience.
Yeah, and I get the impression from a number of people that we're going to talk to that that's a very, very common story, that they talk to Marky and all of a sudden things start moving real fast for them. The thing is that you don't have an infinite amount of time to help people,
Right.
right?
That's why we created this, because I
I was going
didn't
to
have
say,
enough time to answer everybody's questions. I
yeah,
just saw there's a couple of people, Doc Got Game, Zarvox Toral, and a couple of other people that I reached out to because I saw them when they had only 100 followers. And I'm like, but they've got this amazing talent. I need to spend a couple of hours with them because they have what it takes. So,
yeah, yep, yep,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
So anyway, if you guys watch Zarvox later today, tell him that we talked about him. Yeah, tell him that we said nothing but good things about him, and yeah, I enjoy his show. So
Yeah,
yeah,
solid guy, solid guy. I'm not an Eve player, so really don't I don't know who he is, right?
hmm
All I got was just such a wonderful guy, very
hmm
generous, super, super nice guy.
yeah. So let's continue on with this story because we've got a lot more to go here, and I really want to kind of complete all of this. Which hopefully, Jordan. I mean, if you need to go and run around your room a couple of times or something like that, you can. But I just
Man,
would really. I don't
my
want to leave it unfinished.
my back is killing me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. Oh, how's
Yeah.
that?
Sure.
Does that look odd?
You look very relaxed.
Okay. If I start snoring, just let me know.
Oh shit.
Not relaxed.
I'll have to mute you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So oh, now I'm hearing echo a little bit.
Okay.
So the losses. So we're getting back to the losses. We talked about like the losses from EA and stuff, and they finally closed that hole. And the losses that I was taking personally in doing this business was more than what most people make in a year at their own income. And so I was losing more than 50,000 a year at this point. And
I never knew that.
yeah, so one of the things that we had to do is we had to not only double our money, we had to give more than that because we had to give this giant margin for fraud.
Oh, yeah.
And so the better we were at controlling the fraud, the more money we got to keep. The more money we got to keep meant the more aggressive we could make our prices. The more we could pay for something and the less we could sell it for, which made us, more competitive. And but this is part of why when you go to somebody who's an official dealer or something like that, you pay more. And it's because they have earned the respect of the community, of the creator of the products and the customers and everything for being legit. And so anyway, and I will talk about that at the end, but I've worked myself all the way up to that point, and to where we have like endorsements from game companies, and what a wonderful thing. So so then you guys remember there was a version of Ultima Online that was Shroud. And it was, gosh, I don't remember what the name of it was. In fact, that's one of the copies that I don't think I have here. And I have most all of the copies of Ultima. But I don't think I have that one. And basically what they did is they were selling the game, but the game also had this extra code in it for a death shroud. And so you could walk around looking like a ghost, which was kind of cool. And so I knew that this would be a limited time thing, and that what was going to happen is that this was going to be something that people would want to buy. And Shrouded Isle, Age of Shadows. I was thinking of Age of Shadows was it, but I didn't want to say it because I wasn't sure. But now that you say that, JJ, so what I did was I went around to all the. So I'd been going around to many of the EB games and the GameStops and buying the game cards. And what I discovered was this thing called stock pumping. And so this is a term I just made up, but it's a real thing, and in fact, it even happens in their company right now. So, and it happens at Walmart, and it happens everywhere. And basically, if you walk in and you buy all of a product, and so in one day they go out of stock, the next shipment coming in will be double. It's just kind of a general rule that if it's selling that quick, it's hot, and so they better bring in double. So I'd buy their 2 copies that they had. And so then their stock would come in 3 or 4 days, and they'd have 4 copies. So then I had to buy 4 copies. By the way, I was going through way more than this per day. And so I'm running around to all the different GameStops and EB Games and buying all of their stock of this particular copy of the game because it has this extra code in it. And what I know is that if I get all these extra codes and I sit on them, and I don't resell them or nothing, what'll happen is when that's gone off the store shelves, which would last on the store shelves for like 6 months, and I was just selling game access. So people wanted to buy a copy of the game for gold or whatnot because they wanted a second account. We would sell it to them. We'd give them the account creation code. I kept the Shroud code. I ended up with about 10,000 Shroud codes. And so the game costs, I think, $20. So we would take like $20 worth of gold, or we would, or $40 worth of gold, or whatever the math worked out. I always made a profit on it. And then I held on to these Shroud codes, and after all of the copies were gone, I started offering them for sale. And I sold them like hotcakes for $20 each. And then I held on to them. And I said, okay, when I get to this amount of stock left, which I think I started with around 10,000 of them. Do the math on that. 10,000 times $20. And so I started with about 10,000 of them. And so I knew when I got down to about 3,000 of them or something like that, that I was going to start putting the price up. So like 3,000, I put it up to $25. And at 2,500, I put it up to $30. And I get down to the last 100, and they're $150, $200 each. And I just kept ramping it up. I sold all of them. And so basically, it was just recognizing something out there in the market that was happening, and that I could take advantage of that. And so what if it took me 3 or 4 years to sell all of them? So what? They were all pure profit, as they were an add-on to this product that I had already sold and made money on.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
So I started making some deals. And so one of the guys that I was talking to at, I think it was EB Games, and I said, I'm deciding on where I'm going to choose to stock pump the most so that I can get all of my product that I need. And he's like, dude, I was the number one EB Games in the country last month because of all those copies you bought from me. Because they were shipping in, literally, I was buying 100, 200 copies at a time, and I was coming in twice a week. And he's like, thank you. They flew me to corporate and wanted to know what I was doing to be so successful. It's just you, buddy.
Wow.
You know?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Rollis says, lather, rinse, and repeat with Eve 2nd edition. I did buy all of the copies from CCP of the second decade, which is why you can go to our store right now, and we're the only place that has the mystery codes and the golden pods. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So there is a real world example that's still happening. And yes, the price is going to go up on those as the stock level goes down. So buy early.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I am like, what kind of deal can you make me? What can you do for me? And he's like, well, I can't really give you a discount. There's nothing in our system that will allow me to give you a discount. But I can deliver all of these to your home. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and I'll call you whenever they come in so that you know them instantly. And I'll let you pay with them for a credit card over the phone. EB Games, paying for a credit card over the phone? What is this, the internet? Yeah. And so they started, so anyway, I kept pumping him up, his place. And so what would happen is that they'd get double in the stock. And then when it got to be enough, then I would just take what I needed each time. But then they maintained that level. And if I knew I was going to need more in the future and I had to pump it up, then I would go in and I'd buy out all of his stock in one day, like 500 copies or something. And so this got me the attention of EA because when I told somebody at EA that I had bought 10,000 copies of Age of Shadows or whatever, he's like, dude, we only made 30,000 copies of that. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm your number one customer. So what happened then is I jumped. So I went above EB Games and I said, okay, EA, be my friend. And then, I want to start buying directly from you. And in the next year, I was the number 2 biggest buyer of Ultima stuff, direct from EA. And I was buying wholesale.
Wow.
So, and I was behind EB Games and GameStop, which at that point they had merged. So,
wow.
It became big business. I had my own direct line to people at EA. Too bad the product managers went through the game like fucking changing underwear. And
How do you mean?
Well, it was always somebody new.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, they didn't have a dedicated position for this. In fact, the guy who I ended up working with the most, he contacted me, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and he's like, hey, I was that guy. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember you. Too bad it took an average of 2.5 hours on the phone to make each purchase. It was dumb. So dumb. And okay, so here's the dirt. EA sucks.
Wow.
EA, and I'm going to be harsh with this, EA fucked me over 7 times before I finally gave up.
What?
And so, to where I finally am like, I quit. I made a pretty famous video about it. About being done with them and quitting EA, boycotting them. And the director of customer care called me an hour after I published this video. They called me at my home and said, hey, we'd like to talk to you, see if we can fix things for you. And I'm like, too late. Actually, they
7
did.
times too late, apparently.
Well, they did try and fix it. And I actually let them try and fix it. But then it turned out they couldn't fix it. If you look up my SimCity video about this, you'll see, and that was like time number 7. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I love video games, But you guys are this monster that just steps on everybody in your way, and you can't even see them because your belly's too big.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like the problem of
Wow.
not being able to see something else because you're too fat.
So I mean, not to pour salt on the wound, but how exactly did they screw you over 7 different times?
Okay, so what happened is I came up with these innovative new processes for dealing with things in this marketplace and attracting customers, and new ways of commerce, new ways of making money in things within their games and everything. And what do they do every time? They look at it, they say, "Good job," and they publish it to their own stuff. They take my processes and practices and say, "This guy's doing such a good job, we should do it too." Be fucking innovative for yourself. I got really tired of that. And and if there's anybody here from EA, I know I told you all to stay home because you wouldn't want to hear this. But if there's anybody here at EA or has worked for EA, feel free to stay and chat that you agree with how EA is such a monster that it can't see the little people it's stepping on and hurting themselves. So
Wow.
So and I'm a bit bitter about that, but it's taught me some lessons, and so I've learned how to protect myself in business deals and everything.
Yeah.
And I've learned that if I'm doing something amazing out here, that I can't stop any of you from looking at what I'm doing and replicating that, figuring it out. It happened once. I won't mention Carl's name, who sent in corporate espionage person to work with me for 6 months and steal all of our processes and practices and then sell it to fucking Visa for $250 million. Carl. Okay.
Wow.
I'm enough dumping on other people. We're getting kind of a downer here.
I was going to say.
But
I was going to say, man, you okay? You need to take a break?
No, I'm good. Yeah, shot of whiskey. Yeah. So anyway, this has taught me some really valuable lessons, and some of this is in the product that we have here, because there are things to look out for. There are things that you really need to know about how you protect yourself and how you deal with other companies that are these really big companies that can't see where they're stepping, and they step on you either on accident or on purpose, and they're cutting their nose off.
Yep.
What is that? Cut your nose off to spite your face or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah. And so
exactly right.
The other thing with the corporate espionage, that was different. That was intentional bad will. EA, I think, doesn't know what the right hand is doing and what the left hand is doing. A really famous story about that, they invited me to speak as a guest speaker at the UO Fair in 2000, but currently I had been banned from the game. And I had been banned from the game because of my voice, because of things I was saying. Because I had published some articles that were really negative that they didn't appreciate, and they banned my characters. And so, but marketing says, we're building this conference, this first UO Fair. We need influential people in the UO community to come and speak here. So who do they call? Marky. Yeah, and I'm like, well, I don't have a copy of the game currently. And they're like, well, you got all these support sites for it, and you're doing all this fabulous stuff. And I'm like, I know, but I don't currently have a copy of the game. And they're like, what's your address? And they FedExed a copy of the game to me overnight so that I could make my game thing so that I could register for the conference.
Wow.
And when I showed up, this is how I met Gordon Walton, who I now work with as a business partner. He banned me from Ultima Online for the stuff that I said in public.
Wow.
Later on, he come back to me and asks me, will you help us with Crowfall? So there's some respect there.
Okay.
And stuff. And I met him for the first time at that conference in 2000. And he's like, I don't know how the hell you got here. Yeah. And we kind of took away your solo speech thing that you were going to do, and we put you on this panel. They wanted to lessen the effects of me being there. And but I was there. And Gordon is a wonderful guy, even though he will bring down the hammer on you anytime he feels necessary. And Gordon might even be watching. Gordon is in our entrepreneur group.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So, and he's also the founder of Crowfall. So.
Very good.
Yes. So anyway, okay, back onto track here. Is that I learned a lot of lessons, and I learned what things to avoid. And so I'm able to avoid those things, and I'm able to calculate my deals so that I have a safety net, so I have some safety there. And those are the kind of things you learn from being stepped on. So another thing that we did, and this is going into a different realm now. So now we're not talking just about Ultima Online. We're talking about World of Warcraft. So people are saying hi to Gordon in chat. I don't know if he's actually here, but yeah, he did like the thing that I posted about the show today. So on Facebook. Anyway, so in this marketplace where we were buying and selling stuff that was not, there was no problem with it in Ultima Online. In fact, we kept supporting Ultima Online all the way through this stuff. Even with me being banned, we did have company accounts, and we were doing other business there and everything. I just wasn't playing at that point because my character had been banned. And so, the fact of the matter is that we were grandfathered in. So a couple years into this, lawyers started saying, I don't know whether or not this stuff should be allowed. We're afraid for a value to be assigned to any item in the game because, and this is the primary reason, because of the value of those, and these games shut down. So online games eventually run out. They stop supporting the servers and everything. And so they didn't want any value assigned to the stuff in the game because they could then be sued if the game shut down.
Oh, wow.
So even if they're not being successful and they shut down the game, someone could bring a lawsuit to them because they paid $13,000 for a castle and because it was acknowledged that had a real-world value. And so what they did is they banned all of this. Except for the 8 of us in our group, because we had all done very honorable business, and we had not screwed over anybody, and we had always taken out our own trash. If there was any problems, we took care of it. And so we were grandfathered in, but this was not a public thing. So their public policy was nobody should be doing this, but at the same time, they were not going to mess with us. And so anyway, we kind of took this into some other gray areas. I said, okay, well, maybe we can do this for WoW. Maybe we can sell WoW gold. Maybe we can sell other WoW items. And so we dabbled into that market, and it was really a mistake for me to go into those areas where it was not wanted. We did an incredible amount of business in that area, though. So the first thing that happened was that this company called IGE, created by Brock Pierce, appeared. And Brock, who is in the documentary film that I'm in, Play Money, in the trailer, you hear him say, and this was the first year where we took our company to $100 million in revenue, meaning selling $100 million worth of product in a single year of these intangible goods.
Wow.
And for the question of will this be on YouTube later? Yes, it will be. So what we did is that I didn't really touch any of the gold. We weren't going in there making the gold and then doing it. But what we decided to do was to work on the fringe. So I didn't want to handle anything that violated the terms of service. But what I wanted to do was I still wanted to provide safety for people who wanted to do this, which is what we're doing to this day. And I'll tell you all about that in a little bit. So the safety is that we were able to verify the seller and we were able to verify the buyer. And then we were able to put them together through our system to where product comes in, goes back out, money comes in, goes back out, and we were guaranteeing both ends. And so that was working out well, and we charged, money for processing that. We made a huge mistake, a really huge mistake. We never should have taken that money into our own PayPal account. It should have gone in to the seller's account, and then we just charge them the transaction fee, because there's an actual banking term that prohibits this.
Oh.
And I didn't know this until after we ran into a problem. And the problem is that we started working with this company that was buying and selling WoW accounts from other people. And some of these accounts would go for as much as $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Most of them were a couple $100. And in the period of about 2 months, we processed transactions for them of $250,000. And then what happened was WoW brought in the hammer and banned every single account that had run through our system. And by doing that, what happened is that everybody that paid with a credit card, which was almost all of them, said, screw this, charge back. And so it was like overnight, we were, I kid you not, like almost $200,000 in the hole. And by the next day, we were $250,000 in the hole. And there's another video on this about how I lost $250,000 in one day. We did recover most of it and dig ourselves out, but that was something that could have totally broken the company. And,
wow.
And so, and that was one of those holy shit moments where you go home and cry.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do when you're leaving the office and your account is like 100 and some odd thousand in the hole, and you get home and you have dinner and you look and now it's 150,000 in the hole, and you've got holds on your accounts and everything because they're like, you guys must be scammers, so we are freezing your accounts. And so the next day was all recovery of all of that and fixing all of that. We called every single customer and talked with them and everything. Wow. And we were able to figure out how to repair our account and how to at least make some sort of amends with all of the customers. None of them were made 100% whole. All of them were explained to of how the mistake happened and would they be willing to work with us. And if they were willing to work with us and drop the charge back, here's what we were going to do for them. And 95% of them agreed. So in the end, we recovered almost all of the money. I mean, it still took a $10,000 or $20,000 loss, but in the end, we recovered almost everything.
Wow, and that's amazing. That's really amazing.
Well, and there's lessons learned from that kind of stuff, and that's part of the whole entrepreneurial experience here, and about why I'm sharing all of this because these are failures. But you all can agree that you can not make that same mistake by taking other people's money into your account and then paying out someone else. You can all agree now that that's bad.
Yeah, I think in the merchant account world, which I've got a lot of experience in, mm-hmm. I think they call it drafting.
Yeah, I don't remember the term for it. There's an actual banking term for it.
Yeah.
And the banks, if they find out you're doing it, will close your account.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's illegal, but I think they see it as very risky.
Yeah, no, you're signing terms of service that says you won't do that. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which, by the way, if we could take just a short break for just half a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing about failures, right? Because you go to TV, you go to just about any entrepreneurial site, and all anybody ever wants to talk about is success. Success right. This, success that. This is how I made my first million, whatever. I've yet to really get any good golden nuggets from all of those. It ends up being you hear the same thing over and over again.
Well, I'll tell you, my most successful videos are my biggest losses.
How do you mean?
I mean, the stuff where I talk about mistakes and about how we resolved them are my most successful videos in most cases.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My having lost $250,000 in one day has made me at least $2,500 in YouTube revenue.
Well, that's the important thing.
And it's still on the top 10. Even to this day, I made that video years ago, and it's still rocking on. And that's kind of stuff that we're teaching in this guide here of how to make timeless content as well.
Yeah, being an internet marketing guy, I get, like, as soon as you started sharing some of your lessons with me, I thought, okay, that makes perfect sense. And this is going to sound so stupid. For years, I do the marketing automation piece, as you know, right? Mm-hmm. The marketing automation piece is the sales funnels, the sales copy, all the stuff that the CRM, all the stuff that converts a prospect to a customer, right? I don't go out and do the lead gen stuff all the time. I mean, I can do Facebook ads and I can do Google AdSense and AdWords and whatever. It's not hard, but it's just not really where I like to be, because I don't like the activity of casting a net and seeing what I can get. I like the automation part of it, right? Mm-hmm. So you do the casting of the net with the YouTube videos.
Right. I know.
And I have for years. I've just kind of thought of it like, yeah, I'm going to put one together, and I'm thinking of it like it's an event, right? I'm not thinking of it like it's a process, and that's exactly what it actually is. Because when you put one video out there and it generates a penny a month or some insanely stupid small amount a month, there's going to be the next month that it's going to do the same thing, probably, right? Mm-hmm. Or some similar amount, probably, and then the month after that, and then the month after that.
This is one of the sections in our stuff. It's the machine.
That's right. We do talk about it. So when you have 10 videos doing that for you month after month after month, it becomes like the light bulb eventually goes on for me, and I think, okay, that's right. I was thinking about it transactionally. I was thinking about it like it was an event, and it's not a single event. It is a process, and that's what I'm super excited about in regards to this product. And having made it with you, I've learned so much I can't tell you.
We teach you how to make money while sleeping. If that doesn't sound crazy,
yeah. Well, it sounds very get rich quick. The sad thing is it's true, but the fact is when you've got those videos generating you income on a regular basis, that's kind of what it's doing. I mean, really.
Tech here just dropped a bomb.
What did he say?
Twitch chat. Tech OC. Marky, the first 2 months after WoW's release, nearly all of IGE WoW Gold supply came from myself, who is also a direct competitor. Wonder who that would be. I know who it was. And he says, by reselling gold, I acquired from multiple contacts in China, which is also in this movie, or this documentary. And it was a very safe way to profit without getting burned with most fraud. Yes, because he sold all to one place. And so most importantly, it was contacts that no one else had, and that information was power.
Yes. Yes.
We actually talk about that some in this stuff as well, because it's who you know that allows you to make advancements, and so those different things. And I'm friends with most of these people who were in this industry in the past, and in fact now, would you guys believe? So Brock Pierce, founder of IGE, is now chairman of the board of Bitcoin. Holy shit, that makes sense. Virtual currency then, virtual currency now. Yeah. So I got to get him on the show one of these days to talk about that. So.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
So anyway, so you guys can still get in on this, and it's available. ! No job in Twitch chat. There's a link in the description in YouTube, and it costs less than a video game. There's a bunch of information on the page about what all you can get. There's over 7 hours of video in it. There's checklists and guides, and then there is a closed group that you will become a member of, and that is only going to be available to the people who have this product, and one guest
It's a closed Facebook group. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't even, I don't think you can even search for it and find it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Think so.
And anyway, it's these kind of things that we're applying to, the Ultimate Gamer's Guide to Ultimate
YouTube
Gamer's
success.
Guide to YouTube success. Yeah. Yeah.
It's on your Twitch page in case you missed it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it basically we are taking all of these processes and applying it in each one of these areas, what fits in each one of these areas. And so we start out by helping you choose the right game that is for you to make content with. And how many have we sold? I don't know that we want to say numbers, but I will say that we've sold enough now that I'm already going to call it a success. So, we, and in YouTube, the no job thing doesn't work in there. Oh, Fake, you got to get in on this. There's a link in the description. Fake Uniform, another big streamer. We also have Battle Vortex, who says he's in. That's Fear is another name of his. And I'm really excited because he's another longtime YouTuber and streamer.
That's
and
great.
He has a whole bunch. He told me today he has a whole bunch of people that he works with. He has all these different people that put stuff on his channel. I don't know where he comes up with them. He has a magic source, and they all speak different languages, which is really great. He probably has a source because he probably speaks that language, and so and he said that he was going to recommend to all of them to come in and join on this.
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
right on.
So there he is. He says he's in. Battle Vortex is in. So
that's great.
Yeah. So and Battle Vortex, also known as Fear in game, we met probably in 1998 or so. He probably killed me in PvP. That's probably how we met.
Okay.
So anyway, and he said he did post it on all of his channels. Excellent. So. Yeah, so there are some people that you will recognize that are in on this as well, and we're going to create a synergy, and this synergy is going to be within the group that those of you who figure stuff out, because we don't know everything. We know a lot. I mean, I am 10 years on YouTube now, but there are still new things to be discovered because it's constantly changing. And so in this group, this is a private group, call this a mastermind group type of thing, where if you figure something else out and you want other people to help you with it, to optimize it to the fullest, you share it in that group. And then everybody piles on, and when we're done with it, we've made it 3 times as good, 3 times as profitable. And everybody gets to do it. And it stays into this smaller group so that you don't... So that it doesn't go out to the public. So it takes a year for the public to catch on, which means you make big bank for a year. I kid you not. That's how Black Hat works. Mm-hmm. Except Black Hat is doing things that are opposed to the philosophies and principles of the internet. Whereas what we are doing is, if we come across any of that, we're gonna say no to that, any Black Hat stuff. But we will take the good parts of Black Hat, because there's always something good in it. And we say, well, we can't do this part of it, but what about this little piece? Let's see if we can focus on that, because that is acceptable. And we blow that up as big as we can, and until the whole thing changes again. And we keep doing that over and over again. So, and the only way to get into that group is by purchasing the product here. And I know that you're going to say, oh my God, cash grab. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Get it? It's a very small price to up your game. A very small price to up your game. So, yeah. And we're going to teach you how to do this too. Yeah. So, Fake Uniform, thanks for the resub, buddy. So, okay. Now, let's continue on, because are you okay with going more time here? We got more to tell.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you wanted to show me on our document how much you think we can cover. I don't think we can cover the rest.
Oh, do we have to do another show for this?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to, at the very least. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's pages more here.
Yeah, I mean, if you scroll on your notes,
I highlighted where we're at.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and highlight where we're going to go?
Where we're going to stop?
Yeah.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, I just want to give a shout out to Rollis.
Yes.
He said, when Jordan said work is work and play is play, and never shall the twain meet, or whatever they say, he said that's when he realized that he needed to drop his judgment about what his kids wanted and what their desires were. And I got to say, man, kudos to you. That's some powerful stuff right there, because it's very, very hard for anyone to drop judgments like that and call them for what they are. And judgments aren't good. They're not bad. They just are what they are. Mm-hmm. And, if I just, I wish I had learned 10 years ago that I should be looking for something that just absolutely fills my soul and I absolutely love doing. And I absolutely could find a way of making a living at it. And for me, like, I'd say half the time that's marketing automation. That's just doing the internet marketing stuff. I absolutely love it, right? But what can compete with video games? I mean, that's just off the hook awesome. And, and this always happens every time we get together and I start talking about the three generations, baby boomers, the Gen Xers, and the millennials. And somebody always has something to say about how I'm describing them. And I just got to go on the record here and say I'm not talking about one generation being better than the other. I'm saying this is how the different generations think of things. And if you know who your market is, and you know that they are a specific generation, then you really will have a better chance of communicating with them, knowing what their values are and how they think. So as an example, I say, millennials feel screwed, right? I'm not saying they are screwed. I'm saying they feel screwed.
Right. Different thing.
It doesn't mean that everybody gets a pass if you're under the age of whatever, and you don't have to try anymore, and you don't have to work or anything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you know they feel screwed, and therefore they do things like value experiences, you get to do something really, really smart. Like, for instance, a friend of mine who owns a retail shop. He works he does lots with commissions and sales structures. He knows this about millennials. He knows that millennials really value experiences just about more than anybody else. So at the end of every fiscal year, he does a contest, right? So that at the end of every fiscal year, he takes the person who beat their numbers. And if there are several people who beat their numbers, they win as well. They get to go on a vacation anywhere they want for a week.
Wow.
And what's funny is, like, as soon as he said that, I'm thinking like, ooh, Italy, right? Or, somewhere far away and really expensive. And he says, Jordan, what's really funny? He says, they all just want to go to Vegas. And when we're in Florida.
Okay.
So that's really not that big of a deal, but that's what they want. So he's like, okay, so I can budget for a Vegas vacation for a week for two people or whatever.
Screw that. Take me to like New Zealand or Australia or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. But the dude's brilliant because he's nailed exactly what these people want in a contest. And by the way, it's not always money. As a matter of fact, money is a very poor motivator. Statistically, it's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. You get somebody who is driven by money. It's a rare thing, but that's typically not how you want to play these kinds of contests.
Right.
So that's all I was saying. I just wanted to clear the air and give Rolas some props, man, for being able to say that. That's huge.
And Rolas is a professional entrepreneur. He is a business owner. Yes. And works from home.
That's
Rolas,
great.
Are you wearing pants?
That's awesome.
Because when you work from home, you don't have to wear pants, right?
That's true. It's absolutely true. Please don't stand up.
I have
don't
pants
want to
on.
know.
I have pants on. Yes.
So where are we going? I haven't seen any.
Okay, well, I guess that so the show was scheduled. We increased it from an hour to an hour and a half, and now we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes, and we have another show's worth of stuff here, really.
We have
and so
3 shows worth. Don't kid yourself.
I told you it was a lot.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is next week, next Thursday, same time, same place, we're going to pick up where we left off here. And so I'm highlighting it here in our document, and then that's where we're gonna pick up at. And we're not going to call it part 2. We're going to look at what all this really is and kind of group it into a little bit of a context so that we have some other things to teach in this, because these shows are not just about, hey, come buy our stuff. No, it's about, we want you to learn new stuff along the way. We want you to want to be here. Of course, this is how we monetize the show. And this is exactly what we teach as well in this guide, so that how to monetize your gameplay through video to make a living. And so it's ! No job in Twitch chat. There's a link in the description in YouTube. You can get in on it right now and join us. We're gonna I don't know. Jordan's gonna send out emails on our first when we do our first webinar, putting things together, and then when we're going into production, like when the schedule for the classes and stuff, and we're probably going to start by asking what everybody's availability is. I assume that we are going to have to bend our schedules a little bit to mold to what you guys need and want, because that's what we're doing here.
Well, I think based on the international interest in this product,
yes.
I think we're all going to have to compromise a little bit.
Well, so we may have some classes during European time and some classes U.S. time, and Oceania, represent, buy it now. Make sure that we have some oceanic representation, which is, by the way, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, that area, and we will we're gonna work so that everybody has it. And if you miss one of the webinars, it's not a problem, because they will be recorded and they will be available to you. And so if you can't be there live, you're still going to get the full value out of it. So, and this group where we're going to rock the cuss words out of it.
Yeah, it's kind of an unannounced bonus, an unnamed bonus, but you're buying this product for less than the cost of a video game, and it looks and acts more like a membership than anything else. Mm-hmm. That's the cool thing about it. So I totally wanted to undersell it. I wanted to undersell it so people would say, holy crap, look at the value. I can't believe it. And that's what they're saying. So as far as I'm concerned, mission accomplished.
Yeah. And also I want to say that if you've already got it and you've already looked at like the first session and stuff, which I know some of you have, and you're already liking what you see, introduce your friends to it and everything, because the more people we have in this, the more powerful it will be for everybody. And so the sooner that you're in on this, the more value that you're going to get out of it. Because we're not going to do these webinars forever. We're going to do a certain number of them, and we're going to make sure that all the stuff's covered.
Yeah, let's just lay it out there. We will definitely do one live webinar where you get to ask your questions and get real-time answers. Are we going to do more than that? I'm not going to make any promises, but we can say we'll definitely do one. Now, with the value that we have dropped so far on everyone, I think that's more than fair.
For the stuff that we're giving, and I'm not saying this is a sales pitch, I'm saying it because I believe it, that we are greatly undercharging for what this is. Because you're going to get one tip out of this, and you're going to convert it into the money that you spent on this out of one item. But there's not just one item in here. There's dozens of things in here that are stuff that you're going to go like, holy shit, I got to write that down, because you're going to put it into practice. So anyway, okay. It's all good.
Well, I'm
Yep.
looking forward to next time, and I see all these great stories that you got. Man,
Yeah.
we spend an awful lot of time together, but I haven't heard a lot of these stories. I'm really looking forward to it.
There's a lot of stuff in here that I haven't even told in my videos that would make good content for other videos. Yeah. I didn't even until I sat down and wrote this whole list out of this experience that I'm talking about here. I didn't and when I wrote this down, this is 10% of this timeline. And so there's so much more in there too.
That's awesome.
So, okay. So that is it for today. And so do tell your friends, share the link with them, allow them to get in on it with you. And don't forget, you do get to bring a person with you that's your partner in this. And so you get to bring one person. And, so you don't have to do this alone. And if you have more people that would benefit from it than that, well, then tell them to buy it.
Yeah.
And you can introduce them to your other friends that need it too, and they can come together.
Yeah, that's where the rubber meets the road, when you got somebody holding you accountable.
Yeah. So, okay. So, for those of you watching live, we've got another live show coming up tonight. It's scheduled for an hour and a half from now. And then the next Like an Entrepreneur show will be next Thursday, same time, same place, ! Schedule in Twitch chat, or there's a link in the description in YouTube for the schedule. And there will be an alert going up on YouTube here within the next couple of days so that you can pre-schedule it so it can alarm you and say, oh shit, you should be there. The show's live. So thanks, Jordan.
Thank you, my friend.
It's been good. So you ready to rock it out on the way out?
Okay, I'm watching.
Yeah. So Jordan's here head bopping, thinking that I'm actually playing the music. Now I'll play it on the way out. Yeah.
Well, now I'm not gonna play along.
He's not going to participate. Oh man, yeah. Everybody, tell him the music's going. Yep. So it's going. Yeah. See, now he's not doing it. No. Okay. So that's it, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you on the next show.
This clock is always cash, need to keep your count. And this shit been on point, I'm working paper routes. Got extra news, read the name in bold. Need the heat now, this world is cold. Couple thousand hands and we good to go.